But today we're going to talk about the end of your 2007 run in TNA, as you said at the beginning. And when we last did a show about TNA from 2007, it was all about Victory Road. And that was where you and Samoa Joe defeated Team 3D. As Joe won the fall, he won the tag belts. He's the champion and had the choice to pick a partner to be his champion going forward. But he decided, nah, I'm not picking anybody. And this led to Hardcore Justice with you versus Joe with 4 titles at stake. Kurt, does this make the tag team titles look like shit in your mind? I mean, does any of it make sense?
You know what? Kind of, yes. You win them from the Dudleys, Team 3D, and you carry the title around, both titles around just one person. Like this person just won the tag team titles by himself. I don't think that was a good thing to do. I believe the only reason why they did it is because I had 2 titles. They wanted Joe to have 2 titles, and they wanted Joe and I to come together and have a match, and the winner gets all the titles.
There you go. Kurt, we listen, we're doing it live here. Who's in the office with you today? Who you got? Tell us.
My daughter Nicoletta, she won't shut up.
Nicoletta, tell her that Paul said hi, and the Kurt Angle Show listeners love hearing her. So there you go.
Uncle Paul says hi, and the Angle Show listeners love you. They want to hear you. You want to say hi real quick?
Hi.
Oh, there you go. We just popped a rating. That's awesome. This is good stuff. So listen, you're almost 1 year into the company at this point. Was there a frustration level, do you feel like, Kurt, with creative, or were you, feel like you were being heard? You were getting involved in it? Or did you just say, hey, TNA, it's up to you?
Well, I didn't really get involved with the creative. I let them do what they do. But it was a little bit frustrating because there are a lot of things they were doing that didn't make sense. And, a lot of matches that had a lot of gimmicks and different twists and turns, and they just made it more complicated. It's pro wrestling. 2 people go out there and wrestle a match. You don't have to have like 2 titles against 2 titles and 3 against 3 because these guys got mad at those guys. And there was a lot of crazy stuff going on, and they were being really creative about booking these matches. And I thought they should have done it a little more simple.
Yeah, maybe a little too over creative is what you could call it. And speaking of that, dude, you're the IWGP champion. Okay. You're defending that. You also are the TNA champion. You're the X Division champion. And now you're going to be taking on Samoa Joe for control of the TNA tag titles. Look, I know you well enough that you like to be focused and featured and the man, but is this just way too much?
Honestly, yes. Not sure why they wanted to do this. It does nothing for the company. Does everything for me, but nothing for the company. I mean, you have all these different wrestlers that are competing in the same company, and you have one guy that's holding all 5 titles. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and that goes back to, and we're going to talk about it a little bit here, there were certain guys that you were ready to do the job for, Kurt, and try to get them going with their careers, and we'll get into that. But there's something kind of serious that's happening around this time in 2007 that I have to bring up here because it's relevant. It occurred. We're a few weeks out from the Chris Benoit murders, and there's a lot of talk about drug testing and government inquiries to both the WWE and TNA. Did any of this land on your radar, or were you just, hey, I'm full steam ahead and I'm focused on wrestling?
Well, I mean, TNA eventually had to start doing drug testing. And I remember when it started, and it was pretty close after the deaths of Chris Benoit's family. And rightfully so. I do understand that WWE had to take a stand. TNA had to take a stand, make sure the wrestlers were a lot healthier and that they were mentally and physically intact. And I think the drug testing did help. And not only that, but you look at the WWE and what they did with their concussion program. They really ramped it up after Chris Benoit. And I think they were looking out for the athletes, which is what they should have done in the first place.
It's unfortunate, Kurt, that sometimes it takes tragedy for people to figure out, hey, we need to go in a different direction. This is obviously one of those situations, but my God, thankfully, people have learned and started to execute programs to help protect the next generation of wrestlers.
They're doing a great job of that. I mean, you have a concussion today, you can't wrestle for 2 to 3 weeks until you get cleared. Back then, I got a concussion. I wrestled the next day in 2000. It was ridiculous.
Back
But,
then, you get
back
knocked
then,
out
there
at the
weren't any
table.
liabilities.
Yeah. You get knocked out getting a pedigree on a table, and they need you back out there in 5 minutes. So it was a different world, man. So there's that. TNA is also in deep negotiations with Spike to move to that 2-hour time slot when their contract comes up. But I want to get your opinion on this. Do you think at this point TNA needed those 2 hours?
Oh yeah, we had so much talent. We need to spread it out. We need a longer show to enhance the talent and show the kind of talent we had. We had a lot of TNA homegrown talent. We also had a lot of WWE and WCW talent that moved over. So yeah, we definitely needed a 2-hour show.